Sigma Bank, monitoring your total balance and recent activity has never been easier. Transfers are instant and confirmed.
Today, we're going to dig into a plan to fix a huge and honestly mostly invisible financial problem. We're taking a look at Sigma Bank. It's a company built on this one really powerful idea, that the money people send back home shouldn't just be spent and gone. It should be the building blocks for creating real generational wealth. This is all about turning a constant drain into a lasting legacy. Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with a number that kind of just stops you in your tracks. $50 billion. Now, according to Sigma Bank's research, that's not some company valuation. That's how much wealth from the African diaspora pretty much vanishes every single year. It gets eaten away by fees or just loses value sitting in an account. It's an absolute fortune that never, ever gets a chance to grow.
And that, of course, leads to the big question, right? How on earth does that much money just evaporate? Year in, year out. This is the exact problem Sigma Bank was designed from the ground up to solve, and it's the mystery we're going to unpack together right now.
All right, so to really get your head around the issue, it helps to have a name for it. The team over at Sigma calls it the leaky bucket. And honestly, it's the perfect way to picture it. This slow, quiet, but constant drain on the financial power of a whole community around the world. And here's where the bucket is actually leaking from. It's not just one thing. It's a 1-2 punch of these silent wealth killers. First, you've got the crazy high fees you pay just to send money home. And second, there's inflation, which just eats away at any cash that's not put to work. You add those two together, and you're losing a staggering 7 to 10% of your wealth every single year. Okay, so you're probably thinking, why not just invest the money back home then? And that's the core of the dilemma. The dream for so many people is to buy land, build a house, create something real. But the reality is, you run into this wall of fear. Fear of getting scammed, of confusing legal stuff, and, this one's huge, not being able to get your money out when you actually need it. All of this creates what they call a trust gap, and that's what keeps that $50 billion trapped and leaking out.
Now you might be thinking, come on, someone must have tried to fix this. And yeah, you're right, people have tried. But as we're about to see, all the existing players, the old guard, they've all basically hit a wall because they've only ever focused on half of the problem.
This chart tells the whole story, really. On one side, you've got the old school players like Western Union. High fees, zero tools for building wealth. Then, the newer fintech companies like Sendwave came along. They did a great job lowering the fees, but they still stopped at just sending the money. Now look at Sigma Bank's column. 0 fees to send? That's just to get you in the door. The real product is wealth building and AI advice. They're playing a completely different game.
And this quote from the founder, Victor Anjay, just hits the nail on the head. Sending money is just logistics. It's step one. If the journey just ends there, the money still trickles away. All the current systems are great at moving money from point A to point B, but they totally ignore the real goal, which is to make it grow.
So if all the old roads lead to a dead end, what do? Well, you have to build something new. And this is where Sigma Bank brings in their big idea, the Wealth Bridge. It's a whole new piece of infrastructure designed to connect sending money seamlessly, directly to building wealth. And here's how they build that bridge. It's a really smart 3-step flow. Step 1 is send. You get people on the platform with the one thing everybody wants, sending money instantly with 0 fees. Step 2 is save. But instead of just letting that cash sit there getting eaten by inflation, AI-powered wallets automatically protect it in stable assets. And then comes the magic. Step 3, invest. The system lets you easily convert that protected cash into real verified pieces of property through fractional ownership.
Now, making all of this work together, making that bridge stable, that takes some serious tech. The engine behind this whole thing is a unique mix of AI and a technology for digitizing assets called real-world asset tokenization, or RWAT. This is their secret sauce.
The first ingredient is the Sigma Wealth Agent. And you got to understand, this isn't just some clunky chatbot. It's way more like having your own personal private banker right in your pocket 24/7. It's an AI that's actually designed to think, to look at what you're doing with your money, and give you clear advice on how to get ahead.
And this example just makes it so clear what it can do. It's not just throwing data at you, it's giving you a personalized game plan. Instead of you having to figure everything out, the agent sees your habits, like sending money home, and proactively says, hey, if you do this, you could get this result. It turns a routine chore into a smart financial move.
The second ingredient is the Alcoin protocol. Now, it is so important to get this right. This is not some speculative crypto coin to gamble on. Think of it as the trust infrastructure. It's the plumbing that makes the whole thing work. For you, the user, it means two huge things. First, your ownership of a property is locked on a digital record that can't be changed. It's like a digital title deed that's impossible to tamper with. And second, and this is a game changer, it gives you liquidity. That means you can sell your piece of the property whenever you want. It completely solves that old fear of having your money locked up.
So the tech is really cool, no doubt. But is it a real business? Can it actually scale? Okay, let's switch gears and look at the numbers and see just how big the opportunity is that they're going after.
This chart shows a really smart, focused approach. The whole global remittance market is, a $500 billion ocean. But instead of trying to boil that entire ocean, Sigma is going after a very specific, high-value channel first, that $20 billion flow from the US to Nigeria. And even within that niche, their target is still $1 billion in volume a year. You start there, you prove it works, you dominate, and then you expand.
This obviously brings up the big question. If sending money is free, how does Sigma Bank actually make money? Well, the free part is what gets you in the door. It's the loss leader. The real business model is designed so they only make money when you make money. They take a small annual fee on the assets they're helping you manage and grow, a small transaction fee when things are bought or sold on the marketplace, and they earn some interest on the balances. It's pretty simple. Their success is directly tied to your success.
And this isn't just an idea on a napkin. They have a very clear, step-by-step rollout plan. They're in alpha testing right now. The big public launch is slated for 2026, where they're aiming to get to 10,000 active users. And from there, in 2027, they launch the full-blown real estate marketplace. It's a really deliberate, thoughtful way to scale. So to power this next phase of growth, they're raising $1 million. And you can tell a lot about a startup by how they plan to spend their money. Half of it is going straight into the product, building out that core AI and asset platform. A huge chunk, 30%, is for compliance and legal, which shows they're serious about building real long-term trust. And the last 20% is for growth, getting those first critical users onto the wealth bridge.
And so that brings us right back to where we started with this really powerful question. This is the entire mission of Sigma Bank, right here. It's about changing the way we think about remittance. It's not just a monthly bill to be paid, it's a recurring investment. It's a vision for a world where every dollar sent across a border is actually a seed being planted for the future. A vision for finally and permanently plugging that leaky bucket.
Sigma Bank, monitoring your total balance and recent activity has never been easier. Transfers are instant and confirmed.
Welcome to Sigma, the next generation financial estate platform redefining how real assets are bought and sold. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the blueprint for building a modern fintech startup. And we're going to use a real-world case study to see how the very foundations of finance are getting a complete overhaul. That quote? It's perfect. The wall between old school finance and the new world of crypto, it's not just cracking anymore. It's really coming down. Okay, so what is this new financial frontier? What does it actually look like? Well, it's all built on one core idea, turning real-world physical stuff into digital assets. And the key to all of this is a concept called tokenization. Now, just think about it. Imagine taking a huge physical asset like an office building and digitally slicing it up into thousands of tiny tradable shares. And all of this happens on a blockchain. All of a sudden, something that was totally rigid and hard to sell becomes liquid, easy to divide, and accessible to pretty much anyone on the planet with an internet connection. It's a game changer. And this isn't just some far-off theory, no way. Companies are being built on this exact idea as we speak. So to really see how it works in the real world, let's follow the journey of one particular startup. It's called Sigma. So here they are, Sigma. Their whole mission is to take that powerful idea of tokenization and aim it squarely at one of the biggest, most old-school asset classes in the world, real estate. What they're offering is actually pretty simple. They're targeting the biggest headaches in real estate. You're a buyer? You get security and speed. You're a seller? You get efficiency and instant cash. The bottom line is, they're trying to strip away all those layers of friction that have made buying and selling property so slow and complicated for, well, centuries. But you know, a brilliant, disruptive idea is only as good as the person who's actually making it happen. And that brings us to the architect behind Sigma. The founder's name is Victor Ange, and his background is fascinating because it's so deeply rooted in the traditional world of high-stakes business. I mean, that law degree, that's not just a piece of paper. It's the key to navigating the incredibly complex regulatory maze that sinks so many tech-first founders. You add 30 years in management consulting on top of that, and you've got someone who genuinely understands how all these intricate systems really work, from the inside out. But, and this is the absolute key, he combines all that traditional expertise with a deep, certified knowledge of the very technology that's tearing those old systems down. He's a certified blockchain expert. Having that fluency in both the old rules and the new rules of finance, that's what's so critical. It's what allows you to build a bridge between those two worlds. All right, so you've got the right founder and a killer idea. Now what? What's the first step? Well, especially in a world as complex as finance, you definitely don't try to build the entire bank overnight. No, you start with a proven blueprint. And that blueprint starts with something called the minimum viable product, or MVP. It's a philosophy made famous by Eric Ries, and the idea is actually really simple. Don't waste time and money building the entire perfect product. Instead, build just enough of it to test your most important assumption. The goal is to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can, and as cheaply as you can. The process for this is really methodical. First, you find a real nagging problem that customers have. Then, you look at your competition and figure out how you can do it better. After that, you build only the most basic core features and test it with a small group of people. And finally, you launch it to your first users, your early adopters. And you start that all-important feedback loop where you're constantly learning and improving. And this isn't just some textbook theory. This is literally how giants are built. Think about it. Amazon started as a simple website selling only books. Uber, it began as a basic text message service in just one city. They all started with a super focused MVP before they ever dreamed of becoming the massive platforms we know today. Okay, so building a great product is one piece of the puzzle. But launching it at just the right time, that can be everything. So that begs the question, why is a company like Sigma set up for success right now? Well, if you look at research from Savills, they point to the two biggest forces that are going to shape global real estate for the next few years, the economy and technology. A platform like Sigma, which is at its core a finance and a tech company, is sitting right at the intersection of those two huge, powerful trends. And the other absolutely critical piece of this timing puzzle is regulation. You see, for years, all the uncertainty around this tech kept the big money, the major institutions, on the sidelines. But that's changing, and it's changing fast. The whole perspective is shifting. Regulation is no longer seen as a barrier, but as an enabler. It's creating the solid ground needed for serious, big-time investment to finally start flowing in. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. What's the big takeaway from this case study on how to build a modern fintech? You know, building a company like this isn't about one magic formula. It's about a convergence of really critical factors. You need a clear vision that solves a real-world problem. You need the right kind of architect, someone with that rare mix of legal, business, and tech skills. You need a smart blueprint like the MVP method to build and learn. And maybe most importantly, you need a market that's ripe for change, where technology and regulation are finally pointing in the same direction. When all of those pieces click into place, that's when a massive opportunity is born. And really, the tokenization of real estate is just the beginning. It's just one of the first examples of a much, much bigger trend. You can apply this exact same model to fine art, to classic cars, to shares in private companies, really to any valuable asset that's always been locked up and hard to trade. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. In a world where pretty much anything can be digitized and traded, what's next? What's the next huge physical asset that's about to be completely reimagined?
Sigma Bank, monitoring your total balance and recent activity has never been easier. Transfers are instant and confirmed.
All right, today we're diving into something called Project Sigma. Now, this platform is making a massive claim that it's going to completely overhaul how we buy and sell property. I mean, think about it. One of the most stressful, complicated purchases you'll ever make, and they're saying they can simplify it. So let's dig in, shall we? Let's see if the hype is real.
I mean, let's be real for a second. Buying a house, it can be an absolute nightmare, right? You've got mountains of paperwork, you're just waiting and waiting for approvals, and all the while you have that little voice in the back of your head asking, what if something goes wrong? It's this massive, life-changing decision, but the whole process can feel like it's from another era. So Sigma is basically asking the question we've all screamed into a pillow at some point. What if there was just a better way? What if we could just start from scratch?
Okay, so what is Project Sigma really? Their whole mission is about redefining real asset transactions. So here's their official definition: a next-generation financial estate platform for buying and selling real assets. Okay, let's break that down. Next generation is just their fancy way of saying it's all about tech, right? And real assets, that's the important part. We're talking about actual physical property, houses, land, stuff you can actually stand on.
And this is their slogan, where trust meets technology. I think this really hits the nail on the head for what they're trying to do. See, right now, trust in real estate comes from a whole line of people: agents, lawyers, inspectors, and a ton of paperwork. Sigma's big bet is that technology can do that job instead. But that's the big question, isn't it? Can a bunch of code really replace that human-to-human trust we've always relied on?
All right, let's talk about the buyer's experience. This is your gateway to what they call verified opportunities. So, what would it actually be like if you wanted to buy a place using this platform? Let's walk through it.
Okay, so for a buyer, it's a 4-step path. Step 1, you discover premium properties. Pretty standard stuff. You're browsing listings. But step 2 is where it gets different. You confirm the asset's authenticity. Think of this like a digital Carfax, but for a house. Step 3, you connect with licensed professionals. They call them financial estates. And finally, step 4, you make your secure transaction. The whole idea is to keep you inside their system from start to finish.
And what's the result of all this for the buyer? Well, they're promising fast, digital, and tamper-proof ownership. That last one, tamper-proof, is the real game changer here. It means your proof of ownership is locked down with cryptography. It's almost impossible to fake or mess with. And when you think about our current system of paper deeds filed away in some county office, yeah, that's a pretty huge leap.
Okay, so that's what it's like for a buyer. Now let's flip the coin and look at the seller's experience. They're promising a simpler way to sell.
For sellers, the whole process is designed to cut out the nonsense. Step 1, you appraise your asset right there on the platform. Step 2, you get matched with what they call serious buyers. And this is key. Step 3 is verifying the buyer's financial standing. So no more getting your hopes up only to find out the person can't get a loan. The platform handles that verification. And finally, step 4, you receive instant secure payment. Boom, done.
And this slogan really ties it all together. Real assets, real people, real fast. Real assets, that's the verified properties. Real people, that's the vetted buyers. And real fast, well, that's the big promise for everybody involved, isn't it?
So we've seen the slick user interface for buyers and sellers. But how does it all actually work? How do they pull off this whole trust and security thing? Well, for that, we've got to look under the hood at the technology behind the trust.
The magic ingredient here is something you've probably heard of: blockchain technology. Now, if that word makes your eyes glaze over, just hang with me. All it really is a super secure digital record book. Sigma uses it to create that tamper-proof record of who owns what. Every transaction is a block that gets locked onto a chain, and because it's shared across a network, nobody can secretly go back and change things. That's where the tamper-proof security comes from.
So the key benefits of using this tech are pretty clear. You get those tamper-proof ownership records we talked about. You get instant and secure payments. You get verification of not just the property, but the people involved. And most importantly, trust is just built into the system itself. You're not just trusting a person you met last week. You're trusting the math and the code that's running the whole show.
Okay, so let's put it all together. Is it really smarter, faster, and more secure? What is the core value proposition here?
When you boil it all down, these are the big promises. You can own smarter and sell securely. You get verified opportunities and serious buyers. And the bottom line for everyone is fast transactions. Really, for a buyer, it's all about confidence. For a seller, it's about efficiency. And for both of you, it's about taking what can be a months-long, hair-pulling process and making it, well, fast.
So this all leads to a really big question, doesn't it? Could technology like this truly eliminate all the friction from one of the biggest transactions in our lives? I mean, if a system like this really takes off, what happens to the agents, the lawyers, the banks, the entire ecosystem that's been built around this process for centuries? We're definitely in the early innings here, but one thing seems certain. The world of real estate could be on the brink of a massive, massive change.
With Sigma Bank, monitoring your total balance and recent activity has never been easier. Transfers are instant and confirmed.